First at 9. This is Other Derana 24/7.
In your headlines tonight, President calls IORA leaders for stable legal order from maritime security. AG responds to Parliament on bond issue. Navy denies any shooting of Indian fishermen. And Kusal Mendis becomes the day's hero against Bangladesh. Hello there, very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us here at Other Derana 24/7. I'm Dasuman Premathunga. Let's start a look at news first. Now, President Maithripala Sirisena has called on leaders of the Indian Ocean region to step up in formulating a legal framework to counter the issue of drug smuggling via seas. President Sirisena made this call addressing the Indian Ocean Rim Association Leaders Summit today. The Indian Ocean Rim Association Leaders Summit commenced in Jakarta, Indonesia, under the theme Strengthening Maritime Cooperation for a Peaceful, Stable and Prosperous Indian Ocean. President Maithripala Sirisena, along with 21 other IORA leaders, participated in the inauguration ceremony today. President Sirisena was received by Indonesian President Joko Widodo at the inaugural ceremony. President Sirisena later addressed the summit.
The Ocean region has become one of the fastest growing regional economies in the world. While focusing on the economic advantages, it is also necessary to examine the dangers that set off from the oceans, such as maritime terrorism and piracy. Another very important matter is the trafficking of illicit drugs. Although various counter-trafficking measures have been implemented, there is no satisfactory end result. Most of the illicit drugs are smuggled into the country from the sea beyond territorial waters. I suggest IORA to work out a stable legal order to confront this concern in conformity with the principles of the freedom of navigation.
On the sidelines of the summit, President Sirisena held talks with his South African counterpart Jacob Zuma, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh Sheikh Hasina, Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull and Vice President of India Mohammed Hamid Ansari. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says that 3 sectors are identified to lead the export drive in the country. The Prime Minister was addressing the ceremony to launch the website www.ucompare.lk, which is to be used as a tool for students.
The government has also identified 3 major sectors to lead the export drive: the manufacturing sector, the tourist sector, the IT and digital sector. The innovators all come from the 3rd sector, IT and digital sector. Innovation is very important in this sector. It all depends on all of you who are going to do it.
Sri Lanka today categorically denied allegations of firing at Indian fishermen by small boats yesterday. Earlier, Indian media reported that Sri Lanka Navy allegedly shot dead an Indian fisherman in Sri Lankan waters on Monday last week. Meanwhile, issuing a statement, the Foreign Affairs Ministry said that initial investigations indicate that the Sri Lanka Navy is not involved in the alleged incident, but called the matter of grave concern.
21-year-old Bristow, a fisherman from Thangachimadam in Tamil Nadu, was shot dead last Monday. According to Indian media, another fisherman was also injured in a shooting incident while they were reportedly fishing in deep waters of Rameshwaram. Indian media quotes sources in the Ministry of External Affairs of India as saying, quote, "The government of India is deeply concerned at the killing of an Indian fisherman. Our High Commissioner to Sri Lanka has taken up the matter with the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka," unquote. In its statement, Sri Lanka Navy said that no such firing had taken place, as reported by certain media and the press. Sri Lankan Navy says that at no time are small boats being engaged for patrols of the northern waters, since Indian trawlers are of quite large size, Navy goes on to say that even those boats are not authorized to open fire without prior approval of the Navy commander. However, since there is an allegation of a shooting incident, Sri Lankan Navy says it is carrying out a comprehensive investigation in this regard. Meanwhile, in its statement, the Sri Lankan Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that the government is deeply concerned about the alleged shooting. The Foreign Affairs Ministry said that the Sri Lankan government is firm in its commitment to ensuring that government agencies treat all Indian fishermen in a humane manner. The statement adds that all possible action will be taken to investigate into the incident in cooperation with the relevant Indian authorities.
The Sri Lanka Medical Council is to file a petition with the Supreme Court on Friday, challenging the appeal court ruling on the South Asian Institute of Technology and Medicine in Malabar. The Secretary to the Medical Council, Dr. Terence De Silva, said they will appeal against the January 31st appeal court ruling that CITEM is legally eligible to grant medical degrees to its students. The court also directed Sri Lanka Medical Council to grant a provisional registration to medical students passing out from CITEM. A murder of a 7-year-old girl and a man was reported from Derana area last night. Police are on the hunt for the 19-year-old man who is believed to have committed the crime.
The incident is reported to have taken place around 10 last night in a house in Margala, 28 kilometers from Derana. The 7-year-old girl was hacked to death inside the house while her mother was found with serious injuries. The mother was admitted to the Avisavella hospital and later transferred to the National Hospital ICU. The father of the murdered girl and her brother had been attending a funeral when the incident took place.
The suspect was a friend of mine. He killed my sister.
7-year-old Ahatta Gamaralage Chaturya Himanjali was a student of the Margala Junior School. The other victim is identified as Malandeniya Koralage Bandara. Their remains are deposited at the Avisavella hospital for post-mortem examinations.
We received a message that someone had assaulted my sister-in-law. I came with her husband. She was lying on the ground near the house covered in blood. We sent her to the hospital by three-wheeler and came to the house. A couple of others also accompanied us. We entered the house through the window. There was a TV remote controller in their daughter's hand. There was blood everywhere.
Police believe a personal dispute had led to the incident. 5 police teams have been deployed to find the suspect, who is believed to have fled the area.
In another incident, police arrested 8 individuals for unruly behavior near the Bingiria police station last evening. A group of protesters had been engaged in violent behavior when they were demonstrating against actions taken by the police regarding an accident.
The driver of a motor car who was arrested in connection with an accident in Prasannagama area in Bingiria claiming the life of a man was released on bail yesterday. His release sparked violent protests near the Bingiria police station last night. The protest commenced around 7:30 p.m. opposite the Bingiria police station with the participation of a large number of area residents. They were seen burning tires, disrupting traffic on the Chilao-Kurunagala main road. Protesters had also pelted stones at the police station, causing damages to building and property. The Bingiria police sought the support of riot police and additional personnel to contain the violent protesters. 2 police officers were injured in the incident and were admitted to the District General Hospital in Chilao. Police arrested 8 protesters and seized 39 vehicles, including motorbikes, that were used in the demonstration. The Hettipala Magistrates Court ruled that the 8 individuals be remanded until the 21st of this month.
And in what is some very heartening news, the city of Beruwala has implemented several steps to address the pollution problem that has plagued the area for the last few years. Now, meanwhile, citizens of Colombo went on a rally today to protest the insufficient waste management system in the city.
Beruwala found a solution handling its huge garbage problem that is harassing the city since years by creating a local dumping station. But is it a long-time thing or just another stinking mountain of garbage? What happens with the garbage after it's dumped there? Is segregation and recycling involved? And if it works, why isn't it implemented in other Sri Lankan cities?
Beruwala's garbage problem has arisen as insufficient space was provided to dump waste. A majority of area residents have also refused to segregate their garbage. In 2014, the city made its first step towards recycling by creating an area where segregated garbage gets dumped and converted to compost.
We collect disposable garbage separately. We have a compost yard. We make compost out of disposable garbage. The minister gave us a baling machine. We bale the polythene. There are 9 vehicles that belongs to us and collect people's garbage. But the people don't segregate. Collecting vehicles just collect the garbage from places where it is segregated.
Anula Zirimane this month implemented a new project providing an area of private land where unsegregated garbage is dumped and covered with earth periodically to prevent odor. Beruwala has made considerable progress with its garbage problem, but the current solution is only an interim one. The space is limited and will fill up to become yet another unsightly, odorous pile of garbage. A long-term solution may be found when citizens begin the practice of garbage segregation and dedicate sites like that in Beruwala can be used to recycle effectively.
We take a short break now. We'll be back with more news. Welcome back. Now, today, the incumbent superintendent of the Public Debt Department of the Central Bank, THB Sarat Chandra, appeared before the Commission of Inquiry probing the controversial Treasury bond issuance.
THB Sarat Chandra was appointed as the superintendent of the Public Debt Department on the 21st of September 2015. State councils began questioning Sarat Chandra about bond auctions that took place from September 2015 to April 2016. Sarat Chandra explained that during his term, recommendations made by the tender committee members were at times amended considering market volatilities. According to him, the usual procedure of the central bank is to call for bids for rates decided by the Public Debt Department, but primary dealers are not informed of such rates beforehand. Citing the bond auction that took place on the 29th of February 2016 as an example, Sarat Chandra pointed out that the Debt Department expected to accept bids worth 18 billion rupees, although they advertised to accept bids worth only 9 billion rupees. The superintendent of the Public Debt Department explained that the Debt Department does this because primary dealers tend to place higher bids during auctions. THB Sarat Chandra will appear before the Commission for a second day tomorrow, while former Additional Superintendent of the Public Debt Department U.L. Muthugala is also scheduled to testify before the Commission. Meanwhile, the Governor of the Central Bank, Indrajit Kumaraswamy, was seen visiting the Commission after the day's sittings concluded.
The Attorney General informs Parliament that in the event of government incurring any loss due to central bank treasury bonds, the government can indemnify from those responsible. Furthermore, the AG says that a reasonable estimation of damages assessed by a method that could be substantiated before a court of law would be required. And the said quantification should be carried out by the Auditor General's Department. In a letter, the AG said that in terms of Section 21D of the Registered Stocks and Securities Ordinance, a direct participant or a dealer shall be liable on demand by the government. The letter adds, in order to consider the possibility of a criminal prosecution against a particular person or entity under the provision or any other law, an investigation based on a complaint to the police would be prerequisite. Speaker Karuja Surya meanwhile informed Parliament that he tabled the Attorney General's letter regarding the COPE report in respect of the bond issue.
It is not right to speak of what is happening within the Commission in Parliament. It could disrupt proceedings of the investigation.
I can't have a debate on this, but you want any clarification? Yeah.
This is not a problem with the Commission. The Finance Minister lied. Send him home.
Those who are testifying before the Commission are now saying that they withheld certain information from the COPE regarding this issue.
I am still challenging the former President, who was also Finance Minister, to take legal action against us if the allegations are wrong. What Mahinda Rajapaksa signed in 2012 cannot be changed. He had not signed gazettes in the years of 2013, 2014 and 2015. However, he had somehow signed this gazette all by himself without even transferring it first to the Ministry of Finance. Please don't behave like a preschool child. I was saying that there is a particular tradition introduced by the former Finance Minister, former Central Bank Governor Nivad Cabral and former Finance Secretary P.B. Jayasundara. The tradition commences on January the 1st every year. It wasn't something we started.
So the Gazette gets printed in November 2016 and not in 2015. So what has happened in 2016? Why should the former Finance Minister be involved in the bond issue? What happened on February 27th? That is such a crime.
Mahinda Rajapaksa did not sing this. It was a tradition carried out by the Superintendent of the Central Bank because it was something introduced by Mahinda Rajapaksa, Nivad Cabral and P.B. Jayasundara.
Still in business news, we now have Imeshi Fernando with the day's roundup from the trading floor.
The benchmark all-share price index lost 9.08 points to close at 6,108.11, while the S&P Sri Lanka 20 index lost 5.21 points to close at 3,529.16. The turnover was 538.99 million rupees with 22.65 million shares changing hands in 2,970 trades. The market capitalization at the end of the day was 2,682.27 billion rupees. Top 5 gainers of the day were Hapgas and the Plantations, SNB Leasing, Blue Diamonds, Renuka Foods Non-Voting and MTD Workers, while the top 5 losers were Lucky Lanka, Non-Voting, Amana Takaful, Agalawata Plantations, People's Merchant Finance and Equity 2. Today's foreign purchases were 412.16 million rupees and foreign sales were 32.57 million rupees. There were 5 crossings today and the crossings turnover was 258.61 million rupees.
And here's a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other currencies during the day today. It's a short break now. We'll be back with more news. Welcome back. The President of the National Council of Sri Lanka, Venerable Athuraliya Ratanathero, says that an unseen force is in operation to destroy national security.
Recently, a few army intelligence officers were arrested. The public in the country raised questions on how this happened without the knowledge of the President and the Prime Minister. We got to know that a group of people who stood for terrorism, who live from the NGOs, have interfered. The end of this will be the President and Prime Ministers falling in trouble. They give evidence to fulfill their anger. Depending on that evidence, can someone be arrested under murder charges? Next time, if the intelligence officers are getting arrested, the commander of the army should know.
Now, meanwhile, reacting to comments made by Ratanathero, Field Marshal Minister Sarath Fonseca called on the terror to step out of the government.
Soldiers, the army commander and even the President himself is under the law. Government took care of Ratanathero for his support in bringing the government to power. But the government is not liable to Ratanathero. He is there in the government because he gets benefits as well as the privileges he holds. It is his responsibility not to make such comments that make the government uneasy. If he is making such statements while being a part of the government, then he is carrying forward the thoughts of the opposition.
We take a short break now. Welcome back. The President of the National Council of Sri Lanka, Venerable Athuraliya Ratanathero, says that an unseen force is in operation to destroy national security.
Recently, a few army intelligence officers were arrested. The public in the country raised questions on how this happened without the knowledge of the President and the Prime Minister. We got to know that a group of people who stood for terrorism, who live from the NGOs, have interfered. The end of this will be the President and Prime Ministers falling in trouble. They give evidence to fulfill their anger. Depending on that evidence, can someone be arrested under murder charges? Next time, if the intelligence officers are getting arrested, the commander of the army should know.
Now, meanwhile, reacting to comments made by Ratanathero, Field Marshal Minister Sarath Fonseca called on the Thera to step out of the government.
Soldiers, the army commander and even the president himself is under the law. Government took care of Ratanathero for his support in bringing the government to power. But the government is not liable to Ratanathero. He is there in the government because he gets benefits as well as the privileges he holds. It is his responsibility not to make such comments that make the government uneasy. If he is making such statements while being a part of the government, then he is carrying forward the thoughts of the opposition.
We take a short break now. And in your sports news, it's cricket all the way. The Galle International Cricket Stadium played host to Sri Lanka and Bangladesh today, with the first day of the first test seeing 88 overs of action. The spotlight was on Kusal Mendis as he scored an unbeaten 166, taking Sri Lanka to 321 at the close of play.
Heads is the call.
Bangladesh started strongly in the first session, with first change bowler Roy picking up Upul Taranga's wicket. Dimut Karunaratne will be disappointed with his dismissal by Mehdi Hassan, having gotten a start but being bowled for 30. Dinesh Chandimal also saw himself in with 5 or 54 deliveries but departed under pressure. At the other end, however, Kusal Mendis built an innings that went from solid to brilliant later in the day.
And bowling to two right-handers as well. That's a poor ball. That's put away.
He found willing support in Asela Gunaratne, the pair adding 196 before Gunaratne departed for 85.
Today.
At stumps, Sri Lanka were 321 for 4, with Mendis unbeaten on 166 and Niroshan Dikwala on 14.
50.
And the second test between India and Australia at Bengaluru has come to a premature end, with the result being decided a day early. Despite only having 188 runs to defend, India's bowlers put in a strong performance on a dry and cracking pitch to bowl Australia out for 112.
The result sees India level the 4-match series at 1 apiece, coming back from a poor first innings of 189, in which Australia's Nathan Lyon took a career-best 8 wickets for 50 runs. India's second innings was an improvement, with Cheteshwar Pujara falling 8 shy of his century and Ajinkya Rahane offering resistance to a rampant Australian pace showing.
But as the runs began to flow, wickets fell thick and
requiring 188 to go 2 up in the series, Australia struggled in the conditions and were inefficient in their use of DRS. Following his 6-wicket haul in the first innings, Ravindra Jadeja conceded only 3 runs to ensure that wickets fell regularly at the other end, with Australia collapsing to a 75-run defeat just after tea.
Levelling the series at 1-all.
Gone! Straight to Ashwin!
In international news, as diplomatic tensions continue to rise between North Korea and Malaysia over the killing of Kim Jong-nam, North Korea announced today that it would ban any Malaysians currently in the country from leaving. Now, Malaysia has immediately reciprocated the ban on North Koreans residing in its own country following yesterday's expulsion of North Korean Ambassador Kang Chol.
North Korean state media report that the ban will stay in place, quote, until the incident that happened in Malaysia is properly solved, unquote. The Deputy Prime Minister of Malaysia, Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, said today that the Malaysian ban on North Koreans residing in the country will remain until North Korea assures the safety of the Malaysians held there. Malaysian officials have said that there are 11 Malaysian citizens currently in North Korea, mostly diplomats. Following Malaysia's expulsion of Ambassador Kang Chol, North Korea has followed suit and expelled Malaysian Ambassador Muhammad Nizam Muhammad. Malaysia has sealed off its North Korean embassy to monitor the movements of its officials, and police stated that 3 North Korean suspects being sought over the murder are hiding on the premises. Although speculation is rife that North Korea orchestrated the killing, it has denied all allegations.
US President Donald Trump has signed a revised executive order banning citizens from 6 mainly Muslim nations from entering the United States. Now, the new order that will come into effect in 10 days was announced yesterday by US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson after the first travel ban was blocked in court following a nationwide controversy.
Under the revised ban, visitors from Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria and Yemen will once again be barred from entering the country for a 90-day period, while refugees will be barred for 120 days. Iraq, which had been included in the previous order, has been dropped from the new one after agreeing upon additional visa vetting measures. Green card holders and existing visa holders, including those whose visas had been revoked by the previous ban, will be exempted from the new order. The revised order no longer gives priority to religious minorities.
And on to your weather forecast for tomorrow now. Showers or thunder showers will occur at a few places in the north central, northwestern, western and central provinces, especially after 2 p.m. There may be temporarily localized strong winds during thunder showers. The general public is kindly requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by lightning activity. Let's now take a look at the city-by-city weather forecast. Well, that's it on your main news tonight. For the latest in local, international business, sports, weather or entertainment news, log on to www.otherderana.lk or like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter @otherderana. And before we go, here are visuals of how Lastovo, a remote Croatian island, celebrated a carnival themed around a legendary story of a successful defense of the island against a pirate attack. Hope you enjoyed. Good night.
Information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana, 24/7.